Okay. We're going to go back a few. We didn't learn for a week. We're going to go back a few lines. Top of page 97 Aleph. 97 Tzadik Zayin Aleph 97a. Tanu Rabbanim. We're in the middle of learning about the days of the coming of Mashiach. So Tanu Rabbanim, the rabbis have taught. Shavua sheben David ba boy. The sabbatical. Shavua is the sabbatical that the son of David, meaning the Mashiach, is going to come. So Ariel is Shana Rishona, the first year of that sabbatical is Miskai Mikrazeh. We're going to have the verse that says, Vihim tarti al ir echos val ir echos lay amtir. I'm going to cause rain on one city, on one area, and there will not be rain in another area. So there'll be inconsistency with blessings of rain, which indicate also satisfaction, meaning food to eat. So it will be food in certain places, and other places will not have. Shnia, that's the first year of the sabbatical that Mashiach is going to come. The second year of that sabbatical is Chitzei Rov Mishtalchim. My arrows of hunger will be sent out, and that means that there will be a little bit of hunger everywhere. Shlishis, the third year, is Ra'av Gadol, a great hunger, similar to what we're learning about now in the Chumash, in the days, and it's brought down in Sfarim that will be similar to the days of Joseph in Egypt. And because of that great hunger in the third year, Mesim Anoshim V'Noshim V'Taf, many men, women, and children will die. Chasidim V'Anshe Maisa, also pious men of action will die. A lot of the Mefarshim say, what does it mean that there's going to be Anshe Maisas? Because if there's no kemach, there's no food, there's no Torah. So the people who study Torah are not going to have what to eat. And the Torah will be forgotten by those who study it. Because again, if there's no Torah, there's no food, there's no Torah. So that's the third year. So we have 1 year with a little bit of rain here and others places. We're going to have rain, hey Sharna. The second year we're going to have arrows of hunger. The third we're going to have a great hunger where all kind of people are going to die. Torah will be forgotten from those who study it. That's the third year. Biravius in the fourth year. Saiva ve'ena saiva. There'll be satisfaction, means good food to eat, and not and more and less. I mean, so it'll be kind of in between, plenty and not so plenty. B'chamish is the fifth year of that sabbatical. Will be saiva gadol. There'll be a tremendous abundance of food. People will eat, drink, and be happy. Obviously, they'll be satisfied, especially after coming of years of hunger. Because there'll be food, Torah will be studied by its students. That's the fifth year of the sabbatical before Mashiach comes. Beshishis, on the sixth year, koilais, there will be sounds. According to different opinions, we learned, Rashi says that there'll be sounds of the sound of the shofar, meaning the telling us of the coming of Mashiach. The Yad Ramah says there'll be tons of thunder and lightning, but there won't be any rain. So I don't know if that means the whole year, what have you. Bashvias, the seventh year of the sabbatical, will be Milchamais. It'll be a years of war. The Matzei Shvias and the year after Shvias, after the sabbatical, Ben David Ba, that's Mashiach is going to come. So this is what the Brisa says. So let's see what Rashi says. Shavua means not a week, but a Shemitah means a sabbatical. Because there'll be a little bit rain here, a little bit and less rain some other places. Some places will have a little bit to eat, some will have starvation. In the third year, he says.
Wait a minute. What Shemitah? What year is it specified?
That the whole point is not specified. That he's just letting you know that the Shemitah, the 7 year sabbatical before the Mashiach comes, is going to be these things. It means we have to look into the events that are happening in our time. It's complicated. The whole Gemorah is going to go into trying to figure out when Mashiach is coming. There's no clarity from this Gemorah. Obviously, the whole point is that there shouldn't be clarity, but there's questions and there's hints. Chitzei Rav, what the second year is going to have arrows of hunger. So what Rashi says, what does that mean? Rav ma'ach lo yiseva b'shum makom. No place will be with good food. We're going to learn about inflation. A lot of the hints from the Gemara and this Gemara are mamish talking about our times now. Then, because it's going to be tremendous hunger in the third year, there's going to be Torah will be forgotten by those who study it. They won't have what to eat. They won't be able to learn. On the 6th year, there'll be koiles. What's koiles mean? Sounds. So Rashi says, Yatsu koiles, there'll be sounds, there'll be talk. Sheben David ba, Mashiach is coming. So that's right. Oven's talking now. Mashiach is coming. Lashon Achar. Another opinion is in Rashi. He says, "Koilis mitkiyas shofar." There'll be sounds of the shofar. Shenem, like it says in the verse, he quotes from Yeshaya. You talk about shofar gadol, that before Mashiach comes, it's going to be the blowing of the great shofar. What does it mean? On the 7th year, there's going to be wars between whom? So here he says, and we're going to learn later. There's the Marsha. There's other commentaries about how the wars are to be understood. But there'll be wars between Oivdei Kachavim L'Yisrael, between the nations and the Jewish people. Okay, so we're going to learn the footnotes from Rabbi Steinsaltz here. He says like this: the Mecham, he's going to talk about the war of Gog and Magog, which is this famous prophecies about that. He says, according to tradition, the war of Gog and Magog represent seemingly names of countries. That obviously there's no such country today called Gog or Magog. We have to know what that's referring to. That represents the suffering that will precede the events of the Mashiach. It is described most clearly.
When the names Gog and Magog were chosen, it was to say that we don't know. It's a non-specific name. It's
a non-specific name, or it's specific, but not. We don't know what it is. Even in the times of the happenings, they didn't know who Gog and Magog was. When we learned before that there was a conversation that possibly Chizkiyahu would be Mashiach, and then Assyria, Sancherib, would be Gog and Magog. So it seems like it's a name that could be applied to anyone. In the World War I, they thought that was Gog and Magog. Not less World War II, but World War I, there was a big thought that Gog and Magog. So it is described most clearly in Yecheskel, where it is written, "Son of man, set your face towards Gog." So that's the prophecy of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Mashiach and Tubal, and the prophecy against him with regard to this topic of the great war that will precede the redemption. The prophet said, "Of whom I spoke in old time by my servant, the prophets of Israel, that prophesied in those days." Again, Yecheskel is talking about the days of the Mashiach.
Mashiach and Tubal are actual names, so not like Gog and Magog.
Yeah. And he says, in the prophets, there are explicit and indirect references to this great war. One unique aspect of this war is that it will be a war not merely against Israel, but against God himself. And that's what we're going to learn about soon in the Gemorah. Therefore, the word described in Tehillim, where it states, the king of the earth stands, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his Mashiach, which is that's the end of chapter 9, I believe 89, is understood to refer to the war of Gog and Magog. He quotes the Ramah that says, so Rashi says, Kolos is either going to be, there's going to be talk about Mashiach, or there's going to be the sound of the shofar. The Rabbi Steinsaltz brings down the Ramah that says, some explain the references the sound of thunder, where the source of the thunder is unseen. Again, what that means is, there's a lot of mystery here. Now, so we described now 7 years of the 7-year sabbatical before Mashiach comes. So Rabbi Yosef has a comment. Rabbi Yosef says, hello, Miriam. Rabbi Yosef has a comment. I'm Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, Hakam Shvi'is Tahavake. There were many sabbaticals that had these different 7 things, that there was war, there was hunger, right? It's not so hard to find 7 years of such a situation. Mashiach didn't come. So Abaye says 2 things. One is, B'shishis Kailes. Did you have a year that in the 6th year there was the idea of kailes, of sounds, thunder, the called the shofar? B'shrius mechamas mihava. Did we have the kind of wars that it's talking about? V'oid, and even more so, Rabbi says kesidra mihava. It's very good. It could be you could find 7 years that had these things, but did it have it in the order that the Bryce is talking about? So let's see Rashi. Rashi says, did we have such years like this? Shana Achis Rav, Shana Achis Eva, Vafkein Leba David, Ben David. So Rabbi Yosef says that we've had years that had kind of these things and Mashiach didn't come. So Rabbi says, "B'shishis kailis mihava klum yatsu kailis sheben David ba." Have you really heard calls? Rashi says he's using his first translation of kailis. That Mashiach is coming. Have people really called for Mashiach? That hasn't happened yet. Void It started in 1944. The previous Rebbe says, "La'alta l'truga, la'alta geula." V'oid kesidra mihava. Did this order happen? Klaimer elo atzaris diktani hacha. These things, that difficulties that we're studying about now. Kesidrin le'israme b'shvachas. We didn't have one sabbatical that had it according to the order that the Gemara just said. Aval kisrame.
How did they come up with in the Gemorah this series of these specific things? I mean, who even made that up, and how did they? What did they base that on?
This is Agada. This is Medrash. They're not giving the basis for it. He quotes one pasuk in the beginning of the sabbatical that it talks about the rain. There'll be rain and a little bit of rain, no other rain. But he's not. They're talking about tradition. These are traditions that they have of the days of the coming Mashiach. All the parts of Mashiach are very complicated. And that's why the Rambam says you're not allowed to give dates. Okay, Rabbi Steinsaltz chose to continue to put this to hold this in the Gemara, this line here, because some people take it out. So he says, "Asher cherfu oivecha Hashem, asher cherfu ikvot Mashicha." This is Tehillim 89. That your enemies taunted, Lord, they have taunted the footsteps of your anointed. So this is a verse that's talking about the people that are kind of against Mashiach. Some people say we should take that verse out, but Rav Steinsaltz has kept it in. So he says like this. Tanya, we learned. Rabbi Yehuda says, Darsha ben David ba. Rabbi Yehuda has the tradition that the generation that Mashiach will come. Beis Havad, we don't know what Beis Havad is yet, but Beis Havad has many translations. Yil is nus is going to be for prostitution. Okay, so Rashi, we're going to learn Beis Havad is to be a place that the study halls. So either because there'll be the study halls those days were kind of out of the city. We learned that in the laws of Shabbos. So they're kind of out of the city, and therefore they're going to be void of people, and therefore people take advantage of them to have prostitution. Others say that the students themselves are going to be behaving in such a way. So the question is it a reflection of the generation, or a reflection of the starvation? Therefore, it's going to be empty space. V'hagolil yecharev. Who's been paying attention to the news the past 18 months? The north of the Galilee will be destroyed. V'hagavlon. Gavla, most translation is the Bashan, which is the Golan Heights. Yesham will be desolated. V'anshe Gvul, the people that live on the borders of Israel, right? People on the borders of Gaza, the border of the north. Yisayvu mi'ir li'ir, they'll be homeless, they'll be out of their houses. They'll be going from city to city, v'lo yechanenu, they won't find rest. V'chachmas hasayfrim tisrach, and the wisdom of the scholars will be diminished. Or this tisrach means also spoiled or disgusting. And those who fear God, those who are fear of sin will be despised. People won't like the people that are trying to do according to the laws of Torah. And upnei hadar, and the generation of Mashiach is going to be kipnei hakelev, like the face of a dog. All right, so let's see. Rashi will help us out a bit. And how do we understand these descriptions about the days leading up to Mashiach? So he says like this: Asher cherfu oivecha Hashem, asher cherfu ikvot Mashicha.
What happened?
Asher cherfu oivecha Hashem, asher cherfu ikvot Mashichecha. He quotes the verse from chapter 89 in Tehillim. So he says, Lo yisfar shaykra lemay ichdev. Why did the Gemara add this verse into the text? Because it doesn't really add anything. We're not using the verse for anything. So Rashi says, my teacher, he learned in his school. We added this verse of Tehillim in, as it's brought down later in the Talmud of Sota, that in the days of the footsteps of leading up to Mashiach, chutzpah yazge, people will have a lot of chutzpah. That will be the commodity of the day. Will be people's attitude. Because there's going to be people that are going to be bothering the anointed one. Okay, what does it mean, Beis Vad? That the Beis Vad, the house of gathering, will be for znus, for prostitution. So he says, the place that students study Torah, that place is going to be a place of prostitution. Again, the Yad Ramah says that it's going to be that people in the yeshiva are going to be behaving that way. It's going to be with the prostitution openly. Which is the Gavlon, which again, most opinion, the Gavlon is the Golan Heights. Is Yishtoimim, is going to be destitute. Anshe Gvul, the people that live in the border. Anshe Gvul Eretz Yisrael, the people that live in the border of Eretz Yisrael will be homeless, right? Anyone who's in Eretz Yisrael the past 18 months, the north is homeless, and the western border is homeless. Lashon Acher, Rashi is another translation of Gvul, meaning to say Anshe Gazis has a Sanhedrin. They're on the why the Anshe Gvul, why they call the Anshe Gvul the Sanhedrin is going to be kind of homeless, is because they're on the border of the Beis Hamikdash. What does it mean that the Pnei Hador, the face of the generation, is going to be like the face of a dog? So Rashi says the Damin Mamish Lekelev. People are going to look like dogs. Lashon Acher K'Pnei HaKelev Shleis Bayish Dem Izeh. It's not going to be. It's not literal translation, but it means people are not going to have shame. The idea of shame is going to be lost. Okay. We'll skip this note from Rabbi Steinsaltz. He adds,
think that the final assault would be coming from the north of Israel?
There's a lot of verses. That's a verse, Mitzafan. See, the thing is that verse, Mitzafan, that from the north it will start, could be understood for the destruction of the first temple, when Bavel, which was the north of Eretz Yisrael, came to destroy the temple. But we have that.
Was to the east.
It's northeast. Babylon is northeast of Eretz Yisrael. See, he says, okay, we'll see. He quotes. He says over here, see Rashi, who questions the placement of this verse, and the Marshal, famous Marshal, who holds that it's not part of the text of the Gemorah. The Marshal explains that it is an introduction to everything that follows. The enemies of the Jewish people will taunt them when they see the length of the exile and the troubles that the Jewish people are experiencing. They can use that against the Jews. What's it mean? The base vad, the place of assembly will be for prostitution. Some explain that this means that the promiscuity will be so abugades, I can't pronounce these words, that the hall of assembly devoted to lewdness will be established in the central locations. Okay. What's for Gavlin Yesham? So Rashi, he says this is a variant reading, and so here he brings on the Yad Ramah that says the Gavlon is also in the word Gvil, which means parchment. It will be desolate, meaning that the Torah, which is the parchment, will be perceived as false. People won't believe in the Torah anymore, and its directives will not be fulfilled. People won't keep the Torah. Likewise, instead of residents of the border, Gvil, will circulate. The variant reading is the people of the parchment, Gevil, which is the parchment, will circulate, meaning scribes who write Torah scrolls will wander from place to place due to difficulty earning a livelihood. People won't want to respect the Torah scholar. Now he says, what does it mean, the Pnei Hador Pnei HaKelev, that the face of the dog is like the face of the generation like the face of the dog? So Rashi says either literally or they won't have respect to each other. Some explain the phrase the face of the generation to mean that even the leaders of the generation, which is representing by the face of the generation, will have the face of a dog in their impudence and shamelessness. Apparently Gavlin was an Aramaic name for the Golan, which had a sizable Jewish population at the time in the Golan Heights. So therefore the Golan is going to be also destroyed again. These are things that are happening mamash now. Okay, let's get back to the text. What else is going to happen? V'ha'emes nederes, and truth would be lacking. Neder means lacking. How he quotes a verse? How do we know? It says, "V'tiyah emes nederes v'sar meira mishtoilel." It says, he quotes the verse, and he who departs from evil is negated. So v'sar meira mishtoilel, he who departs from evil is negated. Why? What does it mean there won't be any truth? Amr debei Rav, the yeshiva of Rav says, Milamed comes to teach us, Shenasis adorim, there'll be like groups of flocks, and they'll be going around. It won't be kind of the Torah students, the people that keep the truth will be kind of isolated. And what does it mean? V'sar meira mishtoilel, and he that departs from evil is negated. Amr devei Rab Shela, the city of Rab Shela says, the yeshiva of Rab Shela says, Kol mi shesar mira mishtoilel al brios. anyone who deviates from evil is deemed insane by the people. The people who try to keep the Torah or avoid evil, people are going to think you're crazy. There's many ways to interpret this, right? Because today there's a lot of conversations, a lot of narratives that are being questioned. So, and if you don't agree with that narrative, you're considered crazy. You get ostracized, right? So Rashi says, "What's mishtoil al brius? Kol ha'olam oimrim alav shaita." Whoever doesn't agree, if people find that you want to keep to a certain old traditional way of Jewish thinking, and and you're avoiding what people want to call today is okay, so everyone's going to say you're crazy. From the word foolishness. Okay, so here he says, what does it mean that they're going to be going from like many flocks? So some explain this is a reference to the proliferation of schools of thought. Okay, there'll be different schools of thought with each claiming monopoly on the truth. Okay, that's also happening now. Everyone thinks that their way is the best way, and if it's not their way, then it's the wrong way, right? So a lot of this disrespect, and it's my way or it's only my way. So let's see, there's some more commentaries I want to bring down. Okay, there's a lot of commentaries on Pnei Adov, Pnei Chelek. It's brought down many times in writing. He says one of the Marsha, famous Marsha says, what does it mean Pnei Ador Pnei Kelev, the face of the generation, like the face of a dog? The Marsha says the word Kelev comes from also Kol Boy, Kulei Lev, all heart. That people are going to project themselves as if they have a heart towards you, but it's not going to be it's not going to be real.
People are not going to be real. Who wrote this? The Gemorah considered prophets, because it seems more prophetic, more like prophecy than more legalistic type of thing that they would do.
We don't call it prophet. The tradition is that all the way up to the Marsha, which is we just quoted, were written with Ruach HaKodesh, with the divine spirit. So it's a kind of prophecy. Prophecy means a prophet doesn't mean that you know something. A prophet means you've been told to say something. It's not the same thing. Knowing something and being told to say something are not the same thing. A prophet's job is.
What I meant was, it seems like
so it is
like they're predicting, or they're saying this is the way it's going to be, like a prophetic,
So we describe that as Ruach HaKodesh, the divine spirit. Means that they have a divine insight of happenings that or realities or laws, because even the laws are written with Ruach HaKodesh in a way that's not the person who doesn't have Ruach HaKodesh, he or she may not know that information. So they're kind of plugged in more to what's happening or what will be happening than, let's say, the regular person. So the Marsha says that the idea of the face of the generation, the face of the dog, is that people won't be real with each other. That's also not far. Not, I think the Yavit says
like masking or covering up like falsehood.
Just not being real. Just not being real to each other. Pretending like you're friends and not really friends. Pretending you care, you don't really care. Just you project a certain level of friendship or care, and it's not genuine. You're just not. Meaning it's not going to be, people won't be genuine with each other. I mean, Kulei Lev means you're gonna project as if I'm full of passion for you. I really feel your situation. I really feel for your difficulties, but it's not real. And again, a lot of the Mefarshim, as they read along this, they ask one question. This all happened already. This kind of people, they're not real people anymore. That's all happened already. All right, let's continue. Amar Rava says. See, no, Rav is very times the Rav Imreish Hava Amina in the beginning. Initially, I would say Leka Kushta Ba'alma. There is no truth in the world. So Amar Liahu Mirabonon Vrav Tavus Shmei. One of the rabbis. Some people say that's a student of Rava, and his name is Rav Tavis. And he's and others say Rav Tavyoime Shmei. His name is not Rav Tavis, but Rav Tavyoime. That he says that he was so honest that if they were to give him the entire world, he would not deviate from the truth in his statements. It means he would say everything exact. It's a little bit like we spoke about yesterday in the Shmuz. Zimnechada ikla lahu asra. One time, I happened to come to a certain place, Vikushta Shemei, and truth is its name. The place was called Truth. Lehava Mishani B'Diburayu, and people would not deviate at all in their speech. You're very exact. If they said something, it was calculated and honest. Lehava Masei Inish Mihasem B'Loi Zimne. No one died young in that place. People lived out their life. Obviously, no one lives forever, but people lived out. There's a concept of dying young. Means, what does it mean dying young? You're allocated a certain days by Hashem, and you don't live those days. So people didn't lie young in that place. Is Nesivi Itza Minayu. And I guess this Reb Tavya or Reb Tovya, he married a girl from that village that was called Truth, and everyone lived out their time. V'havli Tartin Benin Mina, and I had 2 sons from this woman who is from the city of Truth. Rashi says, what does Rava say that he didn't believe in truth? He says, Rava didn't believe that there was a person who always tells the truth. It doesn't mean that you're saying, you can't trust them if they're telling you if it's raining or sunny outside. But there's always something, when it's an agenda, when it works for them, they don't always say the truth. Even if you gave me all the wealth in the world, I wouldn't change for my speech. The shaker, and it's connected to the fact that he went to the city that was called Truth. Now we're going to find out why. Because he was affected by the fact that he married someone from that city. Reb Steinzot says that Rav Tavut was a 5th generation Babylonian Amora, and apparently a student of Rava, whose statement is cited on several occasions. Okay, one day, so he married and he has two sons from this young woman who comes from the city of Truth. One day his wife was washing her hair, so she was doing something private, and he was trying to be polite, right? Someone says, "Where's your wife?" Right? And she's in the restroom. You don't say the restroom. You say she's not available, right? So he says, "Ase shibavita." So a neighbor came, knocked on the door. Tafra dasha knocks on the door. So he didn't know what to say because she was coming to see her friend, his wife. And he said he thought it's not proper conduct to tell the neighbor his wife is bathing. It's not. You don't say that. So he said to her, Leisa hacha, she's not here. So he lied for the sake. It means she was there. She was taking a bath. But instead of saying she's taking a bath, he thought that wasn't polite. He just said she wasn't here. So maybe he could have said she wasn't available, right? So Shechivu lay Tartin Benin. So 2 of his sons died. He died. They died earlier. I guess he lived in the city of the Truth at the time. Also, the people from the city said, "What's going on? Why did the 2 sons die young? That's not okay. That's not regular." What happened? Why did your sons die young? Tell the story. He realized that maybe he said an untruth by saying his wife was, instead of saying that she was washing, he said that she wasn't there. They said to him, "Please leave our place." Says, "Please leave our place and do not provoke death upon these people." Meaning, they said, "You can't live amongst us because we only tell the truth." And someone asked you where your wife was, even though it's a normal response, it's a regular response, but that's how truthful they were, and that's why the commentaries say after that he said he will never ever deviate from the truth, even to get all the money in the world, because it cost him his children and it cost him his home. So Rashi says, "What love orcha?" It doesn't make he didn't want to say that his wife is bathing. Because she was washing her hair, he thought it was inappropriate to say that. So he said she wasn't home. So here we see again about the idea of the truth. Now we're going back. The Gemorah resumes the discussion. We can't go full class today. I have to go daven early today, but let's just go a little further. So the Gemorah continues and says like this. Tanya, back to the generations of the Gemorah. Tanya Rab Naharai Amir, Rab Naharai says like this. Dar Sheben David Ba. These are all Gemorahs that have been quoted and requoted many times. The Rebbe was very much quoting the Gemorahs in Sanhedrin. And the Rebbe, a lot of people that explain it, not to mean literally. The Rebbe always looked at it in the positive, but about the chutzpah of the youngsters of the generation we're going to learn now seems negative. The Rebbe looked at it that they're going to be the Baal Tshuva movement. So the Rab Narai learned and said, Dor Shemein David Ba, the generation that King David comes, the son of David comes. Na'arim Yalbinu Pnei Zkenim. The youngsters will cause those to go pale. Their elders, it means they'll shame them. And old people will stand in front of all young people. Again, it's a sign of disrespect. The Gemara literally is describing a generation of disrespect. Bas kama be'ima, a daughter will stand up against her mother. Kala b'chamaisa, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Pnei adar k'pnei kelev, again, the face of the generation will be like the face of the dog. Ve'ina be'misbayish me'aviv, a son won't be ashamed before his father. Again, this is describing a generation where there's going to be, which is kind of what the generations of the 60s, and this is all, the idea of the 7 years, the idea of the generation is hard to understand, but we've seen this transition in the world. The Rebbe called it a positive thing, that there's going to be the tshuva movement, or a lot of children went and shamed their parents on the choices they made that weren't for Torah. Okay, so he says, Rashi says that they're going to shame them. Why will the elders stand before the young people? The chabdam means elders will be honoring the young people. That's not a respectful kind of generation. Like it says in Sota, in the times of the Mashiach, chutzpah yazga, there's going to be a lot of chutzpah. But chutzpah also means, there could be chutzpah in a positive way. The Rebbe wanted always to try to make it more of a positive experience as opposed to a negative experience. Bas kama be'ima l'char for levaisha. A daughter is going to shame her mother. Tanur Rabbi Nechemia says, Dar Shemein David Ba, the generation that King David, the son of David, comes. It says, Azus Tirba, the arrogance is going to be plenty. Vayoker Ya'aves, and the cost of living will corrupt people. People be corrupt by the high cost of inflation. Hagefenit in Purioi, we will have plenty of grapes, means there'll be plenty of resources. Nevertheless, if there's a lot of grapes, the wine shouldn't be expensive. There'll be a problem that the economics won't work, which is again a lot of things that we're seeing now. There'll be plenty of resources, but the inflation will still be there. All the kingdoms. So I'm going to go with Rabbi Steinsaltz's translation. It says the entire Gentile monarchy will be converted to Christianity. That's how he understands it. Minus means a min is someone who doesn't believe in Hashem. But he learns it literally to mean that the Christian religion will take over the world. There'll be no one to rebuke. This aligns with Rabbi Yitzchak, who said, there's be no King David will not come until all the kingdoms will turn to Christianity. What's the verse? The verse is Kulei hafech lavin tarhu. That we know that it's a plan, a concept, that there's the laws of tzaras, of leprosy, right? So if you have a little bit of leprosy or a lot of leprosy on your body, but there's parts of your body that doesn't have leprosy, so you're impure. What happens if your entire body, every exposed part of your body becomes full of leprosy, white, which is leprosy? Then that's a sign of purity. That's one of the odd things about leprosy. That if there's any part of your body that doesn't have leprosy, then you're impure. But if your entire body becomes full of leprosy, then you become pure. So he says that's the idea, that when everyone's going to go with Christianity or Minas, or they're not going to believe in God, or everyone translate that,
converting to Islam now than Christianity.
That's a question. So he says again, not everyone agrees to what Rabbi Steinsaltz is saying. So then it's going to become Torah, means Mashiach is going to come. Not everyone agrees with Rabbi Steinsaltz's translation of that, but that's what he says. And I don't see any other major translation. But you have to remember that those days, in the times of the Gemorah, it was a new religion that was being taken on.
I don't understand. It seems like it's saying that the Mashiach will come when people are irreverent versus that they're earning more, and that's when Mashiach is going to come.
According to the literal translation of the Talmud, which this is what we're learning now, is one of the main sources of this topic, which is the Preke Chelek. One of the base. If you're going to learn it according to the literal translation, the days leading up to the Mashiach are not going to be good days. There's going to be chutzpah. There's going to be chaos. There's going to be no price justification. There's going to be a lot. It's going to turn chaotic. very fast.
In other words, things are so bad that we really have to have.
That's what he says. That kulai lava and taru. When it all becomes leprosy, then it's going to come tar. Then Mashiach is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, what does it mean? Hayoiker yavis. Rashi says, what does it mean that it's going to be that things are going to become expensive and therefore people are going to be. Shleichabdu says yakar kovid. He says, what does it mean? One translation is people won't respect each other before Mashiach. Lashon Acher, another opinion is hayoiker avis mechubet shebehen yi avis v'ramoy. That the things are going to be so, the financial situation is going to be so complicated that even your regular honest person is going to be dishonest. What does it mean by that there'll be enough grapes? Nevertheless, the wine will be expensive. That's a bad sign, right? If there's an abundance of something, then the inflation should go down. Another explanation is that even though there's going to be a lot of grapes, everyone's going to be drinking too much. So when you drink too much, then there's going to be more people looking for wine, even though there's going to be plenty of wine. It means people are going to be drinking a disproportionate amount of wine. Even though there's plenty of wine, but the desire for wine is going to be even more than the wine, even though there should be enough.
A lot of drunkenness.
Not drunkenness, yes. What does it mean everything's going to turn white? When the law is that when the tsaras, when the leprosy goes on the entire body and all the skin, so too then you become pure. So too he says, when everyone's going to be doing minus, let's say according to Reb Shein's out, the whole world's going to go with the Christian belief as Tavagil is going to come Mashiach. I'm not so sure what you're saying about the conversion to Islam. If one is looking at what's happening in the past 6 months, I'm not so sure. All right, either way, let's go.
It just seems that Christianity as well as Judaism, the participation rates are going down. But you hear a lot now about Islam making inroads, and even in this country, not just the black population, the white population convert to Islam.
It could be. Listen. Some people can look in minutes, and looking over for the commentaries. Not everyone agrees that it's going to be that it means everyone's going to turn to Christianity. Yeah, the Yad Ramah also. Most people seem to be accepting that translation. Let's just do one more. The Gemara says like this: Tanu Rabbanan rabbis have learned. He quotes the verse that says, "Ki Hashem amei," right? For the Lord shall judge his people. Ki yira ki azlas yad ve'efes oter ve'azuv. So, and atone for his servants, and when he sees their power is gone and there is none shut up or left. So what's that mean? Ein ben David ba, that Mashiach is not going to come until there's going to be a lot of informers, whatever that means. Davar acher, we'll see what Rashi says. Another translation, ad shismatu talmidim, that the Moisris means the tradition, there's going to be less students of studying Torah. Davar acher, another translation, ad shetichle prutim min hakis. This is one of the famous Gemorahs. All money is going to be gone. Some people say means pruta is like change. It's a small coins. So some people translate it means that people have so much money, because our opinions there'll be a lot of money before Mashiach. There's so much money that no one would have small change in their pocket, because who would have small change? I literally wanted to play dreidel with my kids a few nights ago. It took me an hour and a half to try to change 150 shekel to get loose change. I went to the bank, they wouldn't give it to me. We don't give change. I had to go to a whole bunch of different change shops to get change. So maybe that's a sign. No one's going to want to have small change. Davar acher, but the literal translation means no one's going to have any money. Davar acher, another idea is achi is ya'ashu min hagula. Mashiach is not going to come until people give up on redemption. Shnemer ve'efes otzur ve'azuv, as it's stated, and there's none shut up or left. Kivyachol ein seimech va'oizer l'Yisrael. No one's going to have any hope for the future of the Jewish people. And let's just learn the Rashi. We're going to stop the class here. When it's going to come time for God to bring redemption, those who inform on people are going to be successful. Those people, I'm not sure what that means. Those people who inform on people. What does it mean to inform on people? I mean, literally, we know what inform on people means, but what does that mean over here? Some people say it means it's going to be tshuva. There's going to be no students that are bringing the Jewish people back to Torah. People will be empty-handed. They won't even have any money. That's what Rashi says. But the other Mefarshim that bring down the Rashash and others that says no, there'll be plenty of money, but people won't have any small change because they'll have only bills, right? They're going to be saying against God, they're going to have no hope for redemption. There's no one to help the Jewish people. The Jewish people will be so despised, right? Every country condemning Israel. People will feel there's no help, there's no hope, and people will give up on the redemption. All right, we'll finish. We'll continue this Gemorah Be'ezus Hashem next week. Thank you all for joining. Again, this is fascinating Gemorah, and it continues for a while.
I almost feel like, we're getting to the point where they have to give up on fighting anti-Semitism because it's so rife, it's so worldwide spread that what can you do, sort of thing, You
have to fight it, yeah, you have to fight it, no question. But it seems like there's going to be a feeling of hopelessness. Again, the Rebbe goes through this entire Gemara and kind of tries to give it a positive look that we shouldn't be, the tradition by the Jewish people were for 2,000 years that the days leading up to Mashiach are not going to be good days. A lot of people look at negative things in the world as signs of Mashiach, the Holocaust, after the Spanish Inquisition, after the Cossacks, there was huge Mashiach fever after horrible things that happened based on these Gemorahs that we're learning now that kind of indicate, they're alluding to the idea that there's going to be a lot of suffering before Mashiach. So the Jewish people thousands of years with this feeling.
Given that prediction of, and that we're living in that suffering time, did they talk about how they their coping skills basically is, within their spiritual selves, or their communities, but how would they, look at that? How do you feel good? How do you thrive in a higher spiritual way when so much is going on around you in the world?
That's why, like the Rebbe said, that the idea that it says that the youngsters are going to go against the old people, not in a way of negative, like in a chutzpah, but that they're going to rebel in a good way. They're going to tell their parents this: enough is enough. Enough. That the golf course and physical and material is what dictates. We want spirituality. The Rebbe said it's going to be a positive thing. The spiritual revolution that happened from
that happened more in the 60s, I would say.
Yes, so the Rebbe in the 60s called that from with the time of the
today.
War.
Yeah, it's so
well,
much.
There's a lot of tshuva going on in the world. A lot of tshuva going on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to